How many times can you eat shit and keep getting up for more? After building 4 startups in the last 5 years, 3 of which still exist, I've found that this is the biggest factor that will determine a founder's success. In this video, I'm going to give you an in-depth look at what it's actually like to be a founder and build startups, the wins, the failures, the constant ups and downs, and how I've managed to handle them or how I've learned to be able to handle them over the years. Most people are not prepared for what it takes to build a successful company. It is a long haul. And as I build my 4th startup, Romp, I can tell you right now that this is going to be the absolute hardest business I've built, but by far the most rewarding. I truly think that this is my life's work. I'm extra fucking stoked to share how I'm building Romp with you today, but before we dig in, I want to give you a little bit of background and context about my life so you know what led me here and what led me to the idea of Romp. I am an 11-year recovered alcoholic and drug addict. Romp is an app that is focused around my non-traditional, non-12-step journey to sobriety and what helped me, which was pouring all of my addictive energy into something else, something that wouldn't kill me, something that gives me energy and dopamine and adrenaline, but something that also built community and accountability around that activity. That activity, for me, that new obsession, was skateboarding. Something that I've been doing since I was 3 years old, so over 30 years now, but fell out of touch with it because I was in the pits of addiction.
Filming! Oh my God! Do not do that on these clips, bro. Help me, dude. You need help? What? You'll be alright. You won't die. I got this on. He ripped his underwear! He ripped his underwear! Hey Max, smile for the camera, zoomed in. Give me a thumbs up.
I could barely tie my own shoelaces, let alone ride a skateboard. So after relapsing dozens and dozens of times, going to AA, drinking after AA, drinking before AA, and really just not being able to get out of my own stupid head about it being a religion thing, there is a lot of higher power talk. I think that the 12-step program is absolutely world-changing, life-changing. This isn't an us versus them type of thing whatsoever, but this is basically what I'm creating as a response to AA just not resonating with millions of people. There's nothing for them to recover besides the 12-step program or a treatment center and the 12-step program. There's just nothing else. So a lot of people feel like outcasts with no program for them. Going to AA was a really good experience, and I think it helped me get my first 2 weeks, which was huge. But I also started pouring everything back into skateboarding at that point. It took me a really fucking long time to be able to even balance correctly because my equilibrium, I swear to God, was so off. So I was drinking a half gallon a day of liquor for years and years and years. As I started skateboarding again, I had to retrain my balance and my equilibrium. It was a huge learning curve there to get back on the board, but I stuck with it. So I kept meeting more people and kept skating more and more. And I ended up spending the next 2 years of my life filming a video part that I was also completely obsessed with, skateboarding 12 hours a day out in the streets. But that part got me sponsored by Vans for skateboarding, which is a huge dream of mine. And I ended up skating for Vans for 5.5 years, 6 years after that. That video part went on to be the best one out of 3 more that I ever filmed. So after I went back to college, which was also an accountability thing for me, I was nearing graduation. I was working another job while in school, and I started to get more obsessive about my career. I kind of had to, so some of that addictive energy from skateboarding shifted into my career. And I became really obsessive about building my future and building my family's future. And I always knew that I wanted to own my own businesses, and I did not want to work for other people for very long. College was not easy being an older dude and sober, but I was able to build my own portfolio on my own, and I did a lot of interesting things to get attention from people in the advertising industry and the design industry. So now let's focus on me building my new startup called Romp. So I'm currently running a branding studio, Maxo for Design, MHD shortened. I started it a little over 5 years ago. And then I have a new startup incubator that I launched earlier this year called Powerbomb. And now Romp, which I keep saying it, I think it is my life's work. And I'm going all in on this shit. And that brings up another point with being an entrepreneur. What's really tough, especially like me, being a recovered addict with ADHD, I want to do so many things, and everyone tells you that focus is so important. I'm the sole provider for my family. I have to be able to generate revenue, a lot of it to live in Boulder, honestly, and that's a lot of pressure. So it's balancing my revenue generating businesses with things that I'm exploring that I'm really, really passionate about, which would be Romp. We have 2 toddlers at home, we have a mortgage to pay. It's just the realities. It makes it a lot harder to go deeper and faster and focused on a singular business, unless you're gonna take venture capital funding to then pay a salary for you to live off of while you build it. To me, that's just not worth it. I would rather stretch myself a little bit too far and not have any outside influence on my business. So that's what I do. I bootstrap all my businesses. So, how do I balance everything? Everyone asks me this and they think there's some magic bullet. The answer is I fucking don't. It's that simple. I work hard as fuck. I don't sleep a lot. It's a sacrifice. I've taken like 10 days off in the last 3 years of my life. And of course that's not full days, but after our kids go to sleep, I work almost every single night until 12, 1 in the morning, wake up at 6, do it again. And yes, I do work nights on the weekends. I'm with my family, enjoying time all day long, and then at night, once they're sleeping, I go back to fucking work. Family is number one, which is why I don't sleep a lot. There's like this common misconception from all these gurus that you gotta have balance, work-life balance, except for the fact that none of those fucking people had balance when they were building their life dream. They're saying it after. They fucking grinded their asses off, and now they have financial stability to be able to have that balance. That's the difference. Because building and scaling any successful business requires a massive amount of hard work, dedication, and sacrifice. A lot of people don't understand why I do what I do, and I think this is a common thing for a lot of founders, is they're so laser focused. People just don't understand why they're so driven. I love what I do, and I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding that there are people like me and other founders out there that genuinely love what they do, and we're not punching a time clock. We're like focused on our dreams and building our dreams and our future for our family or whoever, and I'm not counting down the week until Friday when I can go home and fuck around all weekend. For me, it's work-life integration, but the point is that if you're an entrepreneur, don't look to people working 9 to 5s for validation, because they simply don't fucking understand it. They're making other people rich with what they do, and they typically aren't happy in that. The reality is being a founder is lonely. It's soul crushing at times. There's such highs and lows. You really have to keep like a flat line emotionally. But it's also one of the most special things in the world, and I would not trade it for anything. I say this all the time, but I am literally fucking unemployable at this point. So now that we've talked through some realistic expectations for anyone that wants to be a founder, let's dig into some of the more tactical things that I'm going through as a founder bootstrapping Romp. So walking back a few weeks, I spun up a quick landing page in Webflow for Romp so I could start collecting emails and information for people that were interested in being part of the beta testing cohort. With my branding studio, we've built over $1 million in Webflow sites, which is fucking crazy to think about actually. We've been building exclusively websites, custom websites for clients in Webflow for a little over 5, almost 6 straight years. I had this landing page live on my domain and collecting data in 30 minutes with a fully custom design. The entire Romp website will be built on Webflow, as all of our other sites are, and I'm pumped to share that site with you guys in a few months. We haven't actually started it yet because we are so focused on product design and development that we just can't put any attention there quite yet, but it's coming.
I see now. Oh. So you're just like, it's a Kodak Courage kind of deal.
Totally the opposite.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell anybody that was your best one ever. You.
Shortly after getting this landing page up, I was faced with some harsh but expected realities. And these realities faced a significant amount of thought and strategy to know that I'm making the correct decision forward. And I hate to admit it, but I had to pull back and slow the fuck down, which is admittedly really hard for me as someone that's in a constant sprint. But fuck, I'm really glad I did. The first realization is that my strict policy around no fucking vibe coding, to me, the vibe coding shit isn't even a consideration in my mind. I'm building Romp to be a remarkable product experience on the first fucking day people sign up to use it. Every detail matters to me. Even if it costs more money and takes longer, I will not sacrifice that quality. My philosophy with my studios and Powerbomb, my startup incubator, is I am all about hiring talented human beings to work with me and create amazing creative work with their own imagination. I believe that's how the best businesses in the world are created. Ask any of history's greatest entrepreneurs. They all invest heavily in talent. The stakes are way too high. I'm not trying to be a fucking cheapskate. And beyond that, user experience, platform control, and data security are really, really important to me, and I won't sacrifice that for anything. After interviewing a few back-end and front-end devs, I finally landed on someone I was really stoked to move forward with. Their quote originally was quite a bit higher than I could even ever bootstrap. Luckily, they worked with me to say, hey, I know you're like trying to be visionary, but you need to be realistic. You need to strip it back. So he and I worked together and pulled that back, and he actually had some really good reminders for me that Romp is not at this stage a social media app. Some of the features I had put in there to make it sticky, almost like gamification, were leaning too far into the social media realm. There will still be some of that for the beta, but not in the way that I originally intended. It was a good reminder that the value prop for Romp is in real life meetups in local communities around activities people are passionate about. That's the path to recovery. So we got started on dev, and I'll talk a little bit more later about funding and how I'm gonna go about that. I also hired a product designer to take my user flows, design system, and the start of my UI to blow it out across the entire user journey. So I'm really excited to have another really talented designer on board to help grow Romp. We're making shit happen. So we get now into funding. To raise or not to raise? Knowing my standards and non-negotiables as far as quality goes, I know that I'm not going to be able to bootstrap this much longer. The development and infrastructure costs alone are going to be nearing 6 figures in the first year, and that's not counting marketing or advertising, which is equally as important. So I've begun exploring funding options, and what I did is I tiered them out because I really don't want to lose any control from bringing in venture capital, especially this early on. I want to remain the sole owner for as long as I possibly can, or forever. The way that list broke out was grants, I think is a great opportunity, friends and family funding, something like a Kickstarter, small business loan, and then finally venture capital. I don't want to say venture capital is the last on the rung, but I think if I do go that route, it's going to be really important to me to find someone that understands my vision. It's just going to be me, and hopefully other people love that too. I have a feeling they will, because addiction is not pretty. It's not sheets in the wind. It's fucking ugly. And the more relatable we are, the more people we can help. So now, with the help of my awesome assistant, Evelyn, we are starting to write grant proposals and fill out some applications there. I really hope we can get a partnership with a university or a research lab in a university. And shout out to my buddy Panat Taranat for all of the badass advice around grants and building products like this in general. You're the man. Next, we got into some unfortunate trademark hiccups. When I did my initial USPTO trademark search, I had missed a category that my trademark attorney ended up finding, and unfortunately left me thinking the name Romp could be in jeopardy. Luckily, he had some ideas, and we were able to come up with a strategic approach and file all the trademarks, which I was really, really stoked about. And that is a reminder to do your homework in the start, pay for attorneys if you're serious about your company, and do things in the right way, right in the beginning. File trademarks, make sure your name is safe before you move on to anything. The last thing you want is to build a startup over years and build equity and brand awareness and recognition, only for someone to send you a fucking cease and desist, and then you have to change your name and start over. Be serious about your admin shit right from the start. When building startups, so many people focus solely on product, especially in the early days, which is understandable and smart, obviously, but they often neglect something equally as important: distribution. You can build the greatest fucking product in the world, but if no one knows about it, you're fucked. You don't have a business whatsoever. With Romp, I need to build a hyper-local beta testing cohort because the app is solely focused on in real life meetups. I need to be able to test and iterate on one singular focused local community before I can scale nationally and through key cities. So after a lot of thinking, I decided to focus just on Boulder, which is where I live, Boulder, Colorado. And I came up with a go-to-market strategy that is pretty different for anything tech or product related, and I think it's gonna actually work really well. Since Romp is all about badass activities, extreme sports, and things that give you adrenaline in general that aren't drugs, I thought how stupid I'd have to be to not capitalize on how outdoor centric Boulder is. It's basically the outdoor capital of the United States. And there are a lot of badass companies that were either started here or now have headquarters or significant presence here in town. People like Scratch Labs, La Sportiva, Crocs, Smartwool, REI, Rafa, Patagonia, Arc'teryx. And then there's also a significant amount of food and beverage companies that are inspired by the outdoors. So if we think of Bobo Bars, Lara Bars, Justin's Nut Butter, Noosa Yogurt, all really great opportunities. So what's my plan? I'm gonna walk my happy ass into their fucking stores and headquarters and ask them if I can do free marketing at their locations to promote my addiction recovery app. Of course, it's probably gonna be more elegant than that, but you get the gist. I'll probably also do some crazy shit with it just to get extra attention so they take me a little bit more seriously. That usually works really well for me. But the goal is to integrate myself into the spots that our target audience already hangs out in, like climbing gyms or climbing stores or Patagonia, and start promoting the app that way. And they can tell their friends and family about this new addiction recovery app based around rock climbing, cycling, running, all of those good things. Some of these stores and companies will probably tell me to fuck off, but I think a few of them won't. So that's all we need. The goal is to get 100 to 150 people into this beta testing cohort and joining these 3 key circles is what I'm calling them, which are these communities. I'm thinking running, cycling, and rock climbing just because they're so ingrained in the culture here in Boulder. I think it would be really easy to get a lot of recovered addicts centered around those 3 key activities. And I'll be able to then test and iterate based on feedback that they give me in those circles. Boulder people are just a different breed. And if you live here, you know. One of the big things I need to solve for is community moderation. I eventually want it to be like Reddit, where there's volunteers to manage subreddits as community or circle moderators. But for now, I'm likely going to hire a community manager that will manage the circles for the time being until we reach a certain level of scale. Now, this is something I'm super pumped about. I hired an illustrator and I spent a ton of time developing a character set for the brand of like, who are the characters? What is their role play within the Rat Pack? They're each at different stages of their recovery, but the idea is that these characters are the storyline for the entire brand, and it's actually going to involve an animated short. It's going to feel more like South Park, like very raunchy and just real and relatable, and it just extends into people feeling seen and heard and knowing that they're not that far gone. They can come back. You can laugh. Addiction and all this shit doesn't have to be so dry and boring. Where's all the humor? Addicts aren't boring ass fucking people once they stop using drugs. That's part of the unique positioning of Romp 2. So now what? With my newly assembled lean and mean team, we are working through UX UI in product, UX UI in web, software development on front and back end, trying to shoot for like a fall release of our beta. In my next video, I'll go deeper into the development side of things and kind of where we're at and some of the hiccups we've been having. I'm also building out a content and distribution strategy that's going to be pretty heavily focused on organic and paid TikTok. Likely we'll seed the app through TikTok. It has tons of growth potential that way. And so I'm looking for Gen Z folks who are really TikTok native. I don't know shit about it and I really don't care to be honest, but I know it's a massive growth channel for us. And so we're gonna go heavy on investing into TikTok. We'll also be scaling the same kind of distribution strategies with Instagram and YouTube, but my goal is to build out a massive demand machine before we even launch anything. So it's gonna be a lot of work in the next couple months, but I'm really excited for that. Also planning some in real life stunts here in Boulder to be more guerrilla marketing focused, some fun shit that gets people talking. I'm gonna do another one of these videos soon, but please tell your friends or your family about Romp if you feel like they could benefit from it. I'll leave a link in the description for our email list or beta testing cohort sign up. Drop your email and info in there and I'll reach out about becoming a tester, especially if you are local to Boulder here. Thank you so much for watching this and just being a part of this journey. I hope these videos help you in your entrepreneurial quest, or if you're just starting out building a startup, this helps you not feel so alone in some of those challenges. And then it's just giving you a closer look at what's going into Romp and how much I'm sweating every fucking detail, because it all matters. You guys all matter. Thank you.